Round one. Fight.
Heroes never die.
I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite store on the Citadel.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
Power, sex, power. They both come down to one thing.
Hungry Gamers.
Hello, and welcome everybody to the 294th episode of the Hungry Gamers podcast. We are powered by 8bit.net and those sexy legends over at Audio Technica. Be sure to check out their website and get yourself the best in audio-based equipment as soon as you can. I'm your extremely humble host, Brendan White. You can find me just about everywhere at Brendan8bits. And joining me today, it's two very special guests. One that you are very familiar with, obviously, my podcast, Ride or Die, who you can find on them socials at Miss Ali Hart. And my second very special guest, making his global podcast debut, friend of the show who can be found at JT Culverhouse, James. Welcome to the show, my friend. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks, Brendan. Hey, Ali. It's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me along.
Not a problem. So yeah, it's been a long time coming. Obviously, you were the lucky winner of our end of year Christmas extravaganza last year, and we're always late but worth the wait, I think we say here on THG. And scheduling and life and everything just made things sort of blow out from a timeline perspective. But we thought we could have a bit of fun, and even though we're now officially out of July, we're in August now. We thought we'd do a bit of a Christmas in July, a bit of a mid-year in review, and talk about the things that we've played and watched that have come out this year or we've experienced this year that we're really loving, and then also look forward a little bit and things that we're excited to sort of play and watch and everything else in between that is still slated for a 2022 release. So I thought it could be something different than the usual THG news and reviews, but I think we could start things off, James, and get a little bit about yourself. And we thought, we'll throw the microphone over to you, and you can tell us about your gaming origin story.
Okay, so yeah, I guess what you call a mature age gamer. So my first gaming experience was actually Pong on the TV back in the late 70s, I suppose. So that was just had a single paddle for a controller, and you turn the paddle anti-clockwise or clockwise to actually move the rectangle up and down to hit this little square dot back and forth. Then went onto an Atari 2600, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with. Cartridge based, pretty damn impressive for the time. In terms of PC, I thought it was a PC clone, but I found out later that it was only it was the Sanyo MBC 550. So this was a compatible machine, which meant that hardly any of the PC games worked on it. So I was limited to their own in-house development games for most part. The one being most memorable at the time was a sort of a platform game called Time Bandits. But yeah, it was a bit disappointing because I was a bit of a flight sim nut. Way back in the early to mid 80s when Flight Sim 1 and 2 came out, and I couldn't play it. So I had to wait to get a proper PC compatible in the mid 80s to be able to play my beloved Flight Sim. But yeah, that's how I sort of kicked off with gaming.
So how did you feel for those years, almost like staring through the window from outside of the house, watching these people play the flight sim games that you were just hankering for and wanting to get your hands on, and just sitting there, singular tear down the cheek, waiting because this Sanyo MBC 550 couldn't cut the mustard?
There was no internet. There was bulletin boards weren't even really that big back then. So it was kind of, I was looking at screenshots in magazines, going, I wish I could play this, and it just, thankfully my parents supported me in my upgrades. So around 1986, I was able to pick up a proper PCXT, and it allowed me to play Flight Sim 2 in 4 colors. So I was blown away, of course.
4 colors?
Yes, they called it CGA, so composite graphics adapter. So 4 colors.
That's so great. And that's like we consider ourselves at times elder gamers, where we make fun of the in air quotes the kids these days and
the youth.
Yeah, they have it pretty good these days, I think.
Yeah, like if you were to tell a kid these days that they would be playing a game that has 4 colors, they'd probably slap you and hurl some kind of abuse at you, and then dab and then run away. But,
and the funny thing is the 4 colors. We couldn't afford a 4-color monitor, so it was an amber monitor when I was playing Flight Sim 2. So I couldn't really see 4 colors anyway, just different shades of amber.
Damn, that's tough. You're missing out on that graphical fidelity back there.
Yeah, the resolution was 320 by 200, I think, at the time.
Oh,
so
it's like what SIF resolution, I think, or maybe 2 SIF. It's that's not a whole amount of pixels, listeners, as compared to 4 and 8K and everything else that's sort of becoming native across a lot of PC and console hardware. So if we were to sort of take that sort of start point and then that pivot point there in 86 when you finally got to play this flight simulator game and the 4 colors on the amber screen, if we sort of fast forward to sort of now, what's your current gaming rotation like? Have you got the consoles? Are you primarily on PC? What are you sort of spending your time playing on these days, James?
I actually I'm pretty spoiled being the I guess the adult gamer. I basically buy most of the things. So I have a PS5, have a Xbox Series X, have a PC with a RTX 3070, so mid-range PC, and of course the Quest 2 for VR. So the only thing I don't have, and I do this intentionally, is a Switch, because if I bought a Switch, I don't think I'd do anything else in my life. Like, as it is, I've already got all this other tech, and I've got real life as well. So if I bought a Switch, you basically would never see me.
I think that's very relatable, right, Alex?
Yeah, but you kind of get spoiled for choice. Like, as a person who has like all the consoles and still only plays mostly on PC, it just sits there. I had a PlayStation that collected dust for like the longest time, so
yeah.
Sometimes it's too much choice.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the problem. When you have too much choice, you don't tend to finish any game. Whereas in the early days, you could actually finish a game and look forward to the next one. But I've sort of been more on PC lately, but predominantly I reside on the Xbox, particularly for multiplayer. It's just easier to set up. Yeah.
Music to Brendan Sears.
Yeah, but like you both said, you sort of feel bad because when you do have the suite of tools at your disposal, there's always a platform or two that's going to get neglected. And like, I'm with James. Like, I'm primarily on the Xbox. Like, I just bought a nice new gaming PC, and all I've played on it since I've had this PC for a few months now is about 2 hours worth of Apex Legends, and the rest of the time it's just to do emails and do podcasting like this. So it's always the Xbox. The PlayStation 5 also gets neglected. Like, I played Stray through the other day, but outside of that, it's just been sort of hanging out, doing its own thing as well. And it's it's first world problems. So like, we're not here saying this for sympathy, but like, yeah, it's tough, isn't it?
Yeah. So the PlayStation 5 for me is Gran Turismo 7, because I do like my racing games, and Demon's Souls, because that wasn't really available on any other platform. I am a fan of The Last of Us, the original game. So looking forward to I guess they call it a remake. It's not a remaster because we've already had that. And I hope they don't change it too much being a remake. I hope they keep the story pretty intact. But yes, I know there's a lot of people that like Last of Us, but not everyone here necessarily. And I bought the PC, mid-range PC, to play the PC VR experiences more than pancake games or TV games, though the Crew 2 has been holding my attention lately on PC. So
nice. So when you're talking The Last of Us, does that mean you haven't played have you played part 2 as well? Have you played through the full? Okay. I have. Story-wise, I didn't think it held up nearly as well to the first game. I liked Joel as a character, and I'll say no more.
to avoid spoilers. But yeah, The Last of Us Part 2 the mechanics were better. The gaming mechanics were definitely better. The open world nature with some of the level design was fantastic. And I did like some of the story. It's just I didn't think it was as good as the first.
That's fair. It's fair. Like it's a fantastic game and a fantastic sequel, and there is some criticisms there to be had on some of the storytelling and the veering of the narrative compared to one, where I guess because they're trying to introduce so many different characters and have like the parallel story where you sort of, I guess, lose some of the emotional weight of some of those big payoffs or big trauma turn points in the game. But yeah, I'm excited to go back and play one again when we get the remake. So that'll be interesting. But if we're still talking about games you enjoy, maybe we could sort of shift the discussion here to maybe some of your favorite games of all time. So not necessarily something that's current. If it's current, awesome. But what looking back through your entire gaming history, what's some of your favorites there, James?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it was actually quite interesting, but I keep coming back to, like I said, I've been a bit of a racing game fan, both in the arcade space as well as the sim racing space. The one that keeps coming back to me that I kind of looking forward to, because they're releasing another one soon, is Test Drive Unlimited. It came out on the Xbox 360, the what was it, 2? Wow, PS2. And the PC a year or so later. So it came out around 2006. It wasn't quite a launch title for the 360, but it was pretty close. It had sort of a very early open mini MMO world where you and sort of 7 other players could roam around basically at any one point in time. I really enjoyed it because of, I guess, they tried to sort of go 1-to-1 scale with Oahu in Hawaii. So yeah, it was really impressive with what they achieved with that game, I thought. It also introduced the social elements like being able to invite friends over to your virtual house, show off your virtual house because you could buy furniture and sort of mod it up a bit, as well as the cars, of course. You could have your garages and all that sort of stuff to show off the cars. It also had bikes, which at the time, usually bikes were sort of centered around standalone games like, MotoGP type stuff. So to have that in a arcade racing game was very, very cool. So yeah, that's one of them.
Miss Hart, do you think you'd go back to play a bit of that? Because I saw your eyes lighting up, because it's like going through the shopping list as far as Miss Hart's favorite gaming habits, with like customizing homes and open world arcade races with some insanity thrown in. And well, I was watching it. Like, okay.
I was like, because I'm curious. Did you play Forza Horizon?
Oh, yes.
And
I've played all the Forzas, Motorsport and Horizon. Yep.
Did you enjoy that? Because that's like the only driving game that's actually won me.
I did enjoy it. I thought graphically it was really impressive, but it was pretty restrictive in terms of the map. And like, to give you some sense of scale, like I said, it was almost a 1-to-1 scale for Hawaii, the main island. So it was impressive. You could, drive 20 or 30 minutes in one direction, and finally reach the end. Whereas Forza Horizon has lots to do and is graphically very impressive, but much smaller map. And, they've introduced houses in the Forza games, but you can't sort of modify them in any way. GTA 5 did that with their online. Like, you could definitely sort of buy your apartment and all that sort of stuff. But it just didn't feel, even to this day, it just doesn't feel as good as Test Drive Unlimited, which is why I'm excited, of course, for this is a slightly different segue, but why I'm excited for Test Drive Solar Crown that's out in 2023. I'm hoping they retain a lot of what they did with the original Test Drive Unlimited.
I'll have to look into it. Yeah, styling a house and inviting friends over.
Yeah,
although
it was so
just
cool.
Be like, what cars?
It was really, and just cruising around, like just together cruising around and having ad hoc races, because you could just challenge a friend to a quick one-on-one race and stuff like that, which they do now, obviously, with the Horizon games and all that sort of stuff. But yeah.
It's crazy they were sort of so ahead of the curve, I guess, for a game that came out 16-ish years ago to see so many of the things and mechanics that they implemented back then only starting to now find their way into these open world racing sims. Test Drive were sort of foresaw the future, I guess, and it's nice to see them returning to that realm again next year. And who knows, maybe we'll all be cruising around and flexing about how good our houses are next year.
Watch out.
Because
watch out.
I feel I'm going to be wasting a lot of money trying to get the best furniture, like for the house to have the best virtual experience, so I can brag to my real friends in my fake house.
Yeah, and I guess I've been a Test Drive fan since the beginning. Their first game came out on the Amiga 500 and PC, I believe, and it was impressive for the time. You know, that's a lot of sort of late 80s. Get that right. Yeah, couple of other games though I should mention, based on the number of hours I've played, particularly.
Good indicator.
More of a retro game. So we're going back to, I think it's the late 80s is the original iteration of this game. Sid Meier's Pirates. So this was I guess it was a pirate sim. Mm-hmm. Isometric in style. You got to battle forts, you got to battle other ships and build up your armada. You got to court governors' daughters. All the stuff you want in a sim. If your crew became unhappy, if you weren't doing the right thing, i.e., stealing lots of gold and plunder, they could possibly kick you off the ship, and you have to start all over again. Back in the day, now I'm sounding old. Back in the day, they had proper manuals for games. Okay, so it wasn't just like this, if you're looking 15 years ago, you had a DVD with the PDF manual on it. Now you're lucky just to get a download link, right? So
QR code or bust these days, isn't it?
Yeah,
exactly. But you had these full-on manuals, and so I got my original Sid Meier's Pirates had this amazing map, and you could sort of I photocopied the map so I could write on it and all that sort of stuff, and it was just that game kept me entertained for I don't know how long, and they released remakes of it, Sid Meier's Pirates Gold, which was still good on console, but by then I guess we'd moved on. I'd played Assassin's Creed Black Flag by then, and that was kind of
the next evolution, really,
correct.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was.
I dabbled with Sid Meier's Pirates in the early 90s. We didn't have a PC in the house growing up as a kid, so I sort of got my PC gaming done through my friend Daniel, who was like the only child that got everything and then some. So any time there'd be something new that had come out, he'd have it without fail. So I remember sort of trying to navigate not only just a keyboard and mouse for one, which was completely alien for me as a young kid growing up on an Atari controller and then moving to the NES and the Sega and the SNES and things like that. And I loved just cruising around this map and fighting other pirates. And I remember actually getting my pirate crew, they mutinied against me because clearly I wasn't the most evil pirate lord that they wanted me to be, and they turfed me off the ship, and all my hard work was undone, and I had to start again. And I was heartbroken as like a 7 or 8 year old kid. I remember at my friend Daniel's house, I was devastated.
Yeah, I know. And if you fail at attacking a fort too, you tend to get captured and thrown in prison for a very, very long time. And of course, it's sort of role playing, so you just see the years counting by, and before you know it, you're in your like 40s or 50s. God forbid, I'm in my 50s. So, and you've only got a few years left to get your gold back and do a semi-decent retirement.
It's tough out there on the 7 seas, but I think it's also tough in space where no one can hear you scream, because this other game you wanted to highlight is one of my faves. And would I be right in saying it's one of your faves as far as at least...
Never played it.
But you've watched a lot of people play it, right?
Because I'm a chicken. Yeah, I watch other people do it.
Obviously, we're talking about Alien Isolation. I think it's the best video game iteration. Oh, maybe the early PC Alien vs Predator games I really, really rate as well. But this is up there with the best of them. Like, it's a low bar to step over because this franchise and the Predator franchise have been bastardized in gaming and on screen for years and years and years. But Alien Isolation just hit it out of the space park, didn't it? Yeah,
it really did. It had an amazing story, some great tension, good level design. Characters were top notch. Without giving any of the story away, this is all in the trailers and whatnot. You play Amanda Ripley, which is Ellen Ripley's daughter. It's set between Alien and Aliens, so you get to see more of that story in between. And just the survival horror-ish type mechanics were something else. And to be honest, I've installed it again on my PC in preparation for another VR playthrough. An unofficial mod called Mother VR, which the creators stopped at 0.8, I suppose, or 0.81. It still works great. You might have to do a little bit of fiddling to get it working on Windows 11, apparently. But it's a must-have. It's a must-play. In VR, it's just something else. I mean, I don't think... I've played Resident Evil 7 in VR as well. Not all the way through, mind you, but a good portion of it. And I have to say that the Alien game for me, probably because I grew up with Alien and Aliens, well, what can I say? I shit my pants sometimes.
You can swear as much or as little as you like. You don't have to worry about holding back, James.
yeah. I definitely have to wear 2 pairs of brown pants when I play VR Alien Isolation. So if you've got the game on via the Epic Store or via Steam, what have you, you should check out Mother VR mod.
Yeah, I haven't. I've played it through just on the Xbox front to back, but I haven't gone in and tried it on the Mother VR mode because obviously you can jerry rig your quests and things like that to make it a hardwired VR experience to get a little bit more grunt and play these types of games through it. And I want to do it, but I don't own enough brown pants just yet to probably see me through. But I will get there eventually because I love horror, but it doesn't mean that I don't get scared a lot playing or watching horror. And knowing what VR can do to you in a horror perspective, like I've played Resident Evil 7 through in its entirety in VR, and it was terrifying.
Yeah.
And I know just the moment-to-moment tension that Alien Isolation has that Resident Evil 7 does for the most part, but I think just the sense of claustrophobia you can get playing Alien Isolation, having to hide in the vents and under the tables, and there's so much hiding and just watching as opposed to moving forward and using weaponry that you see a little bit more in 7. It's going to be great, and I'm looking forward to it, but I'm just not in the right mindset to push forward with that yet because I know it's going to scare me.
Yeah, I think the reason why perhaps it is scarier than Resident Evil 7 for me, particularly in VR, is because the alien it's randomly generated, so you don't have a fixed path. Like with Resident Evil 7, it's a fairly fixed story at points in time, and you never know. Sometimes hiding in a a cupboard or what have you will work. Other times it won't. The other cool, I didn't use it much because I think I was breathing too hard at the time because I was so scared. But you can actually turn, like if you've got a microphone with the Xbox version or the PC version, you can turn on an option that hears your breathing. So if you're breathing too heavily, the alien will hear it and you'll basically die. So I always had that off.
I had it on for about an hour, and it got me. It got me once too because the dogs made some noise. So I'm going to blame a death on the dogs.
Yeah.
But then the other times it was like me going, oh shit, and then it discovered me. It's a great little mechanic. I wish more horror games employed things like that.
Yeah, I do too. It was cool, but like I said, and like you said, external noises tend to possibly wreck the experience and get you caught. So.
It's so good, and I hope Creative Assembly go back and revisit this universe again. Like this game came out 8 years ago now, and since then it's just been total war is pretty much all they've been immersed in following this release. And obviously we've got constant churn of new Alien or Aliens-based games that are coming out, and we'll sort of talk about some of those in the very future segment here. But this was just the pinnacle as far as what Alien games could be, and I hope we get more of this somehow, some way, because it's special and it's one of my favorite horror games of all time, and the fact that it's tied to, I think, a franchise that all three of us collectively adore makes it even better, because we see our children, if we want to call them that, getting bastardized time and time again, and to see it actually done well, it's very memorable.
Yeah. And look, I was one of the rare few that actually didn't completely bag out Aliens Colonial Marines, because I played that the year before. So Aliens Colonial Marines came out in 2013 by Gearbox. And I played it and I thought, it wasn't too bad, but it could have been so much better, right? Mm-hmm. But it got hammered. Like it, critically, a lot of people didn't like it. Fair enough too. And then only 1 year later, Creative Assembly released Alien Isolation, and just such chalk and cheese. It's just amazing. The different styles of gameplay and they were both
like, Colonial Marines looked great. It just sort of played like a bit of a dog. So it was, and knowing the power and the sort of money and just the skills at Gearbox, to see this sort of come out a little bit watered down was a little bit upsetting, but we'll see. As I said, we've got plenty more Alien or Aliens-orientated games coming this year, next year, and beyond. So, so we'll see. All right, we'll shift gears, and we just wanted to know, how did you discover us, James? Like, the Hungry Gamers. We've been kicking around. We're our own little independent ditty here in Australia / the US now. But how did you stumble across our little humble podcast here?
Well, actually, it was just looking at, to be completely frank, Spotify recommendations. So I was using Spotify more than several years ago. It's probably four years ago now. And I thought, I want to listen to a gaming podcast. And I sort of, I did a search, and up came the Hungry Gamers. And I went, oh, yeah, this looks good. This looks good. And obviously, the format's changed a little bit over the years, but you and Ali are still here, Brendan, so that's great. And just the news and the lighthearted banter is what sort of sold me on the Hungry Gamers, and that's why I still listen to it even now.
No, I appreciate that, and shout out to yourself and also Spotify for deeming us worthy enough to pop up in recommendations. But yeah, it's been nice. Yeah, like we've had some core member changes here or there, but 95% of it is still same as it was when Ali made her debut in episode 7 or 8. I always forget which one it was. I know it was early in the piece. But we're still kicking around, still having fun, and I think until that fun stops, we'll keep doing this until we either run out of news to talk about or run out of voice. So whichever one comes first, I guess. Or coffee. Oh my God. Coffee is the best. All right. And the last sort of introspective question I wanted to throw your way, James, is if you were to compare yourself to a video game character, we want to know who would that be and why?
Yeah. So this one, I had to go with two characters. I couldn't sort of sum myself up in one. So I went with sort of a combination of Joel from The Last of Us and a Paragon Commander Shepard from Mass Effect trilogy. Not
a renegade, so you're a bit more of a pacifist, a bit more of a positive-minded fellow as opposed to a rogue.
I guess I am. Yep. I'm pretty old school. As a bit of a segue into this, I used to play Dungeons and Dragons quite a lot when I was growing up, and I always generally played, for most part, chaotic good upwards, and so I always sort of tended to play the strong silent types, I suppose. But I like Joel as a character because during the course of the game, he comes across a pretty huge loss in the first game, and he has to try and move forward. And so, even begrudgingly, he moves forward. but he is a survivor, and because he's a survivor and he knows to just keep going, things will, intrinsically get better. So he tries to put the past behind him so he can sort of move forward again. And Commander Shepard, he's a born leader. He doesn't necessarily have all the answers, and does have failings. Obviously, he's human as well, but he knows how to try and bring the best out in people, and has, I guess, what you would say in the games that when I played him anyway, unwavering optimism, even in the face of impossible odds. So those two characters, I think, show resilience and strength, and humanity. And I guess that's why I like them both.
You know what, James? I'd certainly follow you head first into a battle with the Reapers. Very, very happily to do so. But that's great, because they're two characters that I am especially intimate with and familiar with, and a lot of, I think, gaming fans in general will have at least dipped a toe in Mass Effect or The Last of Us over the years. Not so much The Last of Us with Miss Hart here, but she's familiar with Joel's exploits and the life that he's lived. And
I played
they're good characters to be.
10, 15 minutes of Source. I have an idea.
And that opening of The Last of Us is still one of the best openings in any game I've ever played. Like, for very not overly positive reasons, but just as far as just that emotional haymaker that it swings at you so early on and just sets the tone for that game right then and there. And you're just invested with that character right from the jump.
And I mean, Ali, obviously the developers are thinking of you because they're releasing it on PC. So the remake's coming on PC, so you've got no excuse now to not give it a
go. She'll find a few.
Hey, you brought up D&D. I want to ask you, did you have a favorite class that you picked?
Look, I was usually, if you're talking normal D&D, I was usually a fighter, to be honest. And fact, for AD&D, probably the barbarian class, and that's one of my handles, obviously, is Grox. That's where Grox comes from. He's one of my original barbarian characters in D&D.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Do you still play now, or is that something you'd like to get back into and jump into a fresh campaign, or have you sort of just left the D&D world behind?
I haven't played. I sort of still have the original D&D books, the box sets. There's a long story to that one, but I won't go into it now. But let's just say I didn't have the books for a while because I got rid of them for a Batman video. You remember the Michael Keaton Batman? Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So I traded my original D&D books for a Batman video because I was so keen on Batman at the time. But about 3 years later, I regretted that decision. So I had to go and find them again secondhand and buy them again. So I did. So I still read them. And I've actually written one book too, which is based on a campaign that a mate and I wrote, and it was published a few years ago.
Tell us more. Share with the listeners about this book. Can we still obtain copies of this book? James?
Yeah.
Is it out
it's
there
still
in the
on Amazon and Booktopia and all the usual online places. It's called Wolf and the Crow by yours truly, JT Culverhouse. And as I said, effectively, a mate and I wrote this campaign back in I'm thinking now, 84, 85. Yep, we were about 14 or 15 at the time. And he gratefully gave me permission to write a book on our campaign, so there you go. And it's got Grox in it too. So there you go.
I want to know, because I'm looking at this right now. I'm reading this. It's saying book 1 of the Evanshire Chronicles. Is there a book 2 on the way here?
Yeah, there is a book 2 on the way. It's first draft's done. Now the hard part, which is tidying it up and getting it edited. Thankfully, my wife, she is actually an editor. And,
oh, nice.
And so that's very helpful. I've got a very short story on that one. When I first wrote the first book, Peter got out her red pen for editing, and about half of it, I think, was in red. My first draft of the first book. So that's why I know this time around it might take a bit longer to get the second one out.
Okay.
Because I want to make sure that I get it right. So
that novel became a novella pretty quick there to build it back out.
yeah, pretty much.
Well, I'm excited because there was one copy apparently left on Amazon.com.au, which now I am a proud owner of. That's going to be here tomorrow. And when more come in, we'll get another one and we'll give one away here on the show to a listener.
Oh, look, I've got a few copies, so happy to send you a few to give away. No problem.
If you feel like signing them as well, mate, we'll certainly share the love of that one because I'm always hunting for a good book, and I'm looking forward to reading this one and reporting back.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Not a problem at all. All right, well, let's as much as I don't want to park the JT Culverhouse story here because it feels like we were just getting into some very interesting parts of your life there with just subtly just rolling it out there. Oh, yeah, I'm a published author now.
Write a book, yeah.
This, that, and the other. Like,
No,
I wasn't sure if plugging my own book was going to be a good idea, but hey, I rolled with it. You know,
if you've got anything else you want to plug,
look, honestly, I appreciate. I just was trying to link in, I guess, my D&D playing with, writing a book as well. So.
No, that's fantastic. Well, it's nice to know, Miss Hart, that we know now three published authors here personally on the show. So that's good to know. Makes me feel pretty shitty about myself because I haven't written anything. But you know what? I'll just live through people like yourselves. All right. Well, let's shift gears and let's sort of jump into the main meat and potatoes of the episode here. And we wanted to do, like a 2022 mid-ish year in review, we're going to call. We wanted to have this recorded a couple of weeks ago, but had to shift things around. My poor old Bentley, anyone that sort of followed me on the socials, the little mate woke up pretty much paralyzed one morning, and it was not a good time. It was very terrifying, and he potentially needed to get like emergency surgery on his spine and all this because his little back legs just weren't working at all. And luckily the vet sort of provided me with two options as far as surgery then and there at a very expensive undertaking, or we could try this treatment of really, really aggressive steroids that were 50-50 in making any type of changes. And it was pretty much take some of these medications, but if he declines in any way, straight in under the knife to get this surgery. And then it was pretty much crate. He didn't need to be based in a crate for like 3 months straight without moving because I had to realign his spine, and it was rough. But these steroids that the Bentley's been taking, I've been getting closer and closer to even just taking half of one myself, because he went from not being able to move and do anything to now he's running around, he's taking himself to the toilet, he's jumping up on the couch. I try and not let him jump up on the couch just to avoid the strain, but dogs be dogs. But that's sort of the story, is why this has taken our Christmas in July, mid-ish year in review, to now the start of August. But yeah, little Bentley be bear, he's fighting, he's strong. I feel horrible because it was his birthday last week and we didn't really get to celebrate anything because the little mate was just, on emergency watch. But
buy him a dumbbell. Yeah, he's on the roids.
Yeah, he's already pretty yoked. He's a very stocky, muscly little man, and these roids now, he's going to start beating me up for like second dinners and things like that because he's a big boy. He's got the roid rage, but pets and their hardships, it's terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It very much is. Yeah. I have a dog as well. So his name's Chad. He's a New Zealand Hunterway, which is like a stocky Kelpie. So if you think of an Australian Kelpie and stockier with a bit of Labrador looking, brown Labrador looking, that's Chad. He's 9. He's starting to slow down now, so the walks aren't quite as long, but he's healthy. He's doing well. And we also have a cat called Shadow, who's 12 years old, and he's still doing great guns and still wants his food all the time. And but it's great. They're sort of they're our family. I mean, that's how we treat our pets, I guess. They're our family. So.
Yeah, I'd be lost without these two. So it really record scratch momented me when I sort of woke up that Saturday morning and just knew straight away that something was amiss. But seeing him just improve day by day the last couple of weeks has been really touching, and seeing how strong this little bugger is, because it was, you sort of started fearing for the worst when you see things like that, and then the vet tells you this is what's probably going to happen 90% of the time. To see him bounce back the way he has been been massive weight lifted off the shoulders. But shout out to Chad and Shadow, 9 and 12 years strong, running around like mad and living their best lives up there in QLD.
Yep.
But we thought we'd open up the midish year in review, and we'll start with sort of the best things that we've watched this year. So I see we've got a little bit of bleed with certain shows or films between us that we might have watched and enjoyed. But James, did you want to start us off maybe? And then Ali, and then I'll sort of bring it home as far as things we've watched that have dropped in 2022, or maybe if it was sort of from years past and we're just a little bit late to the adoption. But what's been the top of your viewing pops so far this year, Mr. Culverhouse?
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. Look, my favourite film this year so far, and I'm happy to say this actually because I was praying it was going to be a good film, was Top Gun Maverick. So
I still haven't watched it.
I know. Well, you should.
I know.
I also haven't seen the first Top Gun.
Oh my God! What? Yeah, okay. So my recommendation, if you haven't seen the first Top Gun, is watch the first Top Gun and then watch the sequel. And even if you haven't seen the first Top Gun in quite a while, I would recommend probably watching it before seeing the sequel. They do some recapping in the sequel, but if you want a bit more detail around the recapping, best to refresh your memory. Look, this sequel is one of those rare cases where it's better than the original. So this is just a fantastic movie full of really good characters, a really appropriate and quite current story, and what really is amazing, apart from the fact that everyone carries the film, and it's not just Tom Cruise, it's all the supporting actors as well. Miles Teller is excellent too, is the fact that they did a lot of practical effects. So minimal use of CGI. Obviously, there is some CGI, but very, very sparingly used. And all the flight stuff that you pretty much see is real F-18 fighter jets. So it just breaks the mold. It's a breath of fresh air for me anyway. And I grew up with the original Top Gun. Okay, I thought it was pretty fantastic. I was also a very strong supporter at the time. It hasn't held up quite as well now that I'm 52, but Days of Thunder came out 4 years after the original Top Gun by the same director, Tony Scott. And I still enjoy it, but it's not nearly as good as the original Top Gun.
And that's where Tom and Nicole sort of first met and sort of shacked up together, didn't they, with Days of Thunder? That's where their
that's
relationship was cultivated.
Indeed it was. Before, obviously, it decultivated. Yeah. So that's in terms of movies this year. And to be honest, that's the only movie I've seen in the cinema this year. So I've obviously watched quite a few from the various streaming services.
Are you a cinema goer, James? Like, do you like to get to the movies, or are you sort of more wait till it hits one of the streaming services and watch it at home in comfort, or do you like the big cinema experience?
No, I do like the big cinema experience. I think gold class is my forte. Getting the recliner and a bit of grog, or coffee if you don't want the grog. But with COVID and whatnot, I will admit I haven't gone to the cinema as much as I used to. So if it looks really good, I'll go to the cinema. If I'm on the fence about something, I'll probably wait to streaming. Yeah,
and that's fair. And the good thing is the timeline between a movie debuting in the cinema and popping up on a streamer is becoming less and less anyway. Like sometimes it's like a 30 or a 60 day cycle where it's going from big to small screen. So you don't even have to wait that long. Like Top Gun Maverick, everybody I know that's watched it is like, this is phenomenal. Watch it. And I've got full intentions to, but I just haven't made the time to get to the movies. I'm sure it's probably a couple of weeks away from making its way to something that I could watch it on my Apple TV, because I'm keen to see it, because I love the first one. Obviously Danger Zone's still probably one of the best action-based songs
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
And it's a banger of a film from the 80s, and you know, it's peak Cruise, peak Val Kilmer. Who doesn't like a good, healthy, fit-looking Val Kilmer? Like, obviously, I've heard that he cameos in Maverick, and you know, he's dealing with a few real-life health-based ailments, and he does what he can on screen. But I'm keen to see, and it's even got like John Hamm in there. I love me a bit of Hamm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He plays a good supporting part as well. I think the other good thing about Top Gun Maverick, before we move on, is that it does have some nostalgia hits for the people who grew up watching the original. So there's definitely some nods of nostalgia, which you'll know pretty much straight away when you start watching it. So I highly recommend it. Moving on to TV, obviously, because TV, you know, over the last decade in particular, has just improved out of sight in terms of writing and budget as well, really. Obviously, due to the streaming services available now. I really enjoyed Reacher season 1. I've read a lot of the Lee Child books, so I think I've got a pretty good grasp of the character that Lee Child is writing. I thought Tom Cruise, though he was a good actor, I don't think he was quite up to the physical presence that's required for Reacher.
Yeah, he's not as imposing as I can't remember the actor's name that plays him in this new season, but he's a big man.
I think it's Alan Richardson, but I hope it is, and apologies if it's not.
You're right.
Oh, good. He is fantastic. Like he embodies what Reacher is, and I also like this because it stuck pretty close to the story that it's based on. It had some good secondary characters. There was obviously some decent fight scenes in it as well. Overall, I thought it held up really well, and I'm looking forward to obviously more. And then finally, this one's no surprise, I don't think, for anyone out there, is I watched Stranger Things season 4, and apart from possibly the first season, it's probably the best season of Stranger Things so far. It certainly dialed up the horror elements, which I think is good because the kids in the show are getting older now, so that's probably why they can get away with, I guess, showing a bit more of the violence and what, you know, some of the impact of that violence has. But the story was really good. We got to learn a lot more about a lot of the secondary characters, as well as some new ones. Of course, they talked about D&D in it, which is fantastic. But it's by far, it just went and did a lot of the backstory too, which was really impressive. So highly enjoyable.
Yeah, the Duffer Brothers, they've gone from hitting singles and doubles to home runs with Stranger Things, and it's quickly become one of the biggest shows, Jesus, just about in history. It feels like everybody's hungry for it, and Stranger Things season 4 certainly lived up to the hype and the momentum that show's got. And yeah, I think it's probably minute to minute my favorite season of Stranger Things so far, and I completely agree with you there, James, with the tonal shift as the cast becomes more mature, the content has as well, and some of the characters they're introducing and just building out of this world and the upside down and where that's come from and how it came to be and things like that. I think it's really, really, really well executed storytelling from the Duffer Brothers, and I really like the cast and the soundtrack, and obviously we've got a pretty couple of cool big hero moments in this season, and I can't wait to see what they do with season 5. Miss Hart, have you gone back? I know you've sort of watched a bit of season 1, and did you get into season 2 and sort of park there, didn't you? Have you jumped back in the car and started driving along again?
No, it's a lot of things to watch. Okay, one bucket list item at a time, but I will watch it. I am constantly getting a lot of people telling me, especially after this season, saying like, Ali, you have to watch it. And apparently there's a lot of D&D references, as you said. And there's a very metal thing that happins that people have been
absolutely awesome.
Yeah, I've kind of already been exposed to it. Thanks, Metallica. So yeah, but I will go back. I'll go back to season 2 and I'll work my way over so I can get to experience this amazing season of season 4. So
I mean, to be honest, Ali, I was the same. I didn't watch season 4 when it first came out. I got to the end of season 2 and took a break. And then when everyone kept telling me, "Oh, season 4 is amazing. You've got to watch it. You've got to watch it." And before, I didn't want to get hit with spoilers on Twitter and Facebook and what have you. So I just went, I'm going to watch season 3 and 4 so I don't get too far behind. And 3 was pretty decent. It was good, but 4 was just out of the park.
2 is definitely the weakest out of the 4 seasons for me.
I agree.
Yeah,
Yep.
well, they lost me.
So push through, and then you'll be very, very rewarded. 3 is great, and then 4 is just next level, and it's so good. And I think there's so many things in that universe that you love and cherish as far as hobbies and passions and things. So it's just a melting pot of Ali's favourite things there. But speaking of other favourite things, Miss Hart, what about favourite things you've watched in 2022 so far?
Yeah, so the things that I've actually been able to watch or spend some time in watching. Recently, I saw The Black Phone, which was a horror thriller movie based on a short story. Loved it. I'd been waiting so long for it, and I'm glad that it turned out brilliantly. I actually went back and read the short story because I love the movie, and the short story has nothing on this movie. The creative liberties that they took with the movie just worked out much better and made for a really intense thriller. So The Black Phone was awesome. Just as of recently, I got to watch Bullet Train and loved it. I absolutely loved it. It had everything that I kind of love in a fun action movie. A lot in the same vein of like Smoking Aces and Snatch, where you've got like all these quirky different crews with, you know, their own objectives and intertwining stories and all that sort of business. And it's just intense. It's funny. It's got, you know, narrative that is, you know, like I said, kind of intertwines and everything like that, and great payoff. And if you don't take it too seriously, like if you don't go in there looking for a deep, dark, serious action movie, I think you're bound to enjoy it. It's been a long time, but I finished watching The Bullet Train and I said, I want to watch it again. Like, I want to go back and watch that because I had such fun watching it. It's got an amazing cast too. I thought by having Brad Pitt in it, it was just going to be the Brad Pitt show. He does great, but the supporting cast all have their own things and they just do amazing. It's a lot of fun. Very beautifully stylized and a great soundtrack. And yeah, so I don't anticipate that everyone's going to love it. I'm sure it's going to not rub people the right way. But for me, as you know, Smoking Aces and Snatch being some of my favorite movies, it hit the nail on the head. And it was brilliant. So
I think anyone that doesn't love Snatch, you know, they're not people you want to associate with too much because it's a fantastic film. It's one of Guy Ritchie's best. And
yeah,
I'm excited for Bullet Train. And we were talking about this offline before we started recording this morning. And just, I could see the love and adoration you had for this movie just flowing out of you. And then when you were like, I want to go watch it again at the movies, like I've not heard you say that once about anything else in the years I've known you. So I know that's big praise right there.
Yeah. So I absolutely loved it. So I'm not going to go out there and, you know, tell everyone, oh, you have to see it, because I know everyone's kind of different. But for me personally, on those kind of bases of movies that I love, take it or leave it as you will. So, but yeah, absolutely ecstatic with that one. TV wise, 1883, which is completely shocking. Technically started in last year, but finished this year. So, I never thought that I was going to be into a drama western, you know, timepiece, and lo and behold, it was a brilliant story. It was very beautiful. It was, you know, very sad, kind of highlighting some historic truths there. But yeah, I can't believe that one won me over. I recommend it, but Jono said that he found it quite depressing. So, and we had to kind of give him the news that it doesn't get better.
No, no.
I haven't seen it actually. It's one of the ones that I definitely want to check out though. Same with Bullet Train. Can I just ask before we move on? Is Bullet Train anything like Shoot 'Em Up with Clive Owen? That kind of
yes. Not a lot of people watch Shoot 'Em Up.
Shoot 'Em Up is such an underrated action
tit for tat.
It is. It's so good. And Paul Giamatti plays the antagonist, and it's just like it's nuts, but it's like a good sort of off the wall nuts. And
because he kills dudes with carrots in that, doesn't he? Kills someone with a carrot.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
Yeah, there's a carrot scene. Yeah, I used to work at JB Hi-Fi, and my old manager used to quote that movie so much, especially that stupid tit for tat freaking quote. Yeah, like all the time. But yeah, same kind of vein, same kind of like action, absurdity, wackiness, and yeah, there's a lot of great moments. So
good. I'll definitely have to check that out. So yeah.
I also got to watch Righteous Gemstones Season 2, another weird one that I never thought I would become a fan of, but it's just great. It's wonderful quirkiness, interesting story, great cast. I've talked about it a lot, so I won't dive on it too much. And Our Flag Means Death, another just out of nowhere gem, and I'm so glad that it's been renewed, I believe, and then that like it's just been picked up by everyone. It's like this little TV cult classic that people have kind of held on to. It was wonderful. It's such a beautiful wacky story of pirates and pirate life, and when you have like Taika winning and what's his name? I've forgotten his name. Rhys Darby, pretty much front and center. It's just brilliant. So that was another one. I noticed that we have an overlap here with Peacemaker.
Mm-hmm. How can that not be on our list, right?
I know, yeah. But
I have to watch it still. Sorry.
add that to your list as well.
All right,
for that one.
Writing it down right now.
I was honestly, if it hadn't been actually for the movie, the Suicide Squad movie, if you told me that John Cena was going to have his own show, I just would not have given it the time of day. But based on his performance in the Suicide Squad movie, I was like, I have to see what this is about. And how much of a brilliant show it was. I was completely caught off guard. I thought it was going to maybe, kind of get shitty towards the end or maybe not hold itself. But it was brilliant from start to finish. And I can't wait for whenever another season of that one comes out. It was great.
Yeah, and James Gunn's come out and confirmed that Peacemaker is free of the big HBO Discovery Cull scenario that's going on at the moment.
Stupid if they didn't.
Yeah, and Peacemaker, like I'm with you, like John Cena's performance was sold to me in the Suicide Squad. Like I've watched him in a few other things, and I think it was called Cock Blockers. I think it was just called Blockers here in Australia, where it's a bit more of an adult comedy, and he got to be a little less, modern day superhero John Cena from WWE and be a bit more real, and so I had feeling and faith that he could do well, but Peacemaker just blew my mind, and I can't wait for more of that show. It's just about one of my favorite things DC have brought to screen in I don't know how many years, like decades really. It's just everything that I love and the tone. Yeah.
My wife keeps asking us to watch it, and I'm like, yeah, we'll get to it.
Yeah.
Definitely set some time and get ready for a brilliant soundtrack.
Oh, cool. I like good soundtrack.
And it's got like I'm very much with a lot of shows, and one of the great things I love with something like Netflix where you can skip the intros, but this is one of those shows that I'll never skip the intro. Like you might have seen it on social media, but I won't say what happens with it because I don't want to spoil that first experience with it on the screen, but it is so fun and so silly, but it's just the best, and it just sets the table for the show with that intro and give you a bit of an understanding of what you might be in for over those handful of episodes.
And did it have a reasonable budget? Like, does it look the goods?
Looks great.
Oh yeah,
looks great. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, no, it certainly doesn't look cheap, and the CG where it is used, they put a lot of money into it. Like it doesn't look like you can see the juxtaposition with the blatant green screening or the fake character. Like it all looks like it's part of that one interconnected universe, which is awesome. Yeah, but that Taika magic dust, anything he sprinkles that on these days turn to gold. And yeah, Our Flag Means Death is phenomenal. And yeah, obviously with what we do in the shadows and stuff like that, and obviously his attachment to Marvel, he can do no wrong, Mr. Taika. But I wanted to sort of quickly scattershot my favorite things I've watched into. I'm going to talk. Well, I'm not going to talk. I'm just going to mention them because I've talked about them in a lot of detail. And 3 new anime that came out this year: My Dress Up Darling, Love After World Domination, and Spy Family. All very similar as far as the themes they're covering. We've got cosplay, we've got superheroes and supervillains battling, and then a spy family trying to infiltrate an evil organization. But like, they're all very lighthearted, comedic, slice of life style shows. Great animation, great soundtrack. Just adore them. Can't speak about them highly enough. I will leave my weeb discussions behind from there because I do talk much anime these days. Already talked Stranger Things and Peacemaker. As far as movies, I wanted to shout out Everything Everywhere All at Once, which was the multiversal film done by Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, released through A24. One of the best movies I've seen in a long time. Miss Hart, I know you thought it was good, but it wasn't to that bar. I think you enjoyed it, but didn't completely land 100%
I thought
for you.
it was okay. Like, I definitely didn't want to
Okay
see
or
it
fine?
again. Ooh, which one's lower?
I think fine, and then okay is above fine, would you say?
Then yeah, you're right. It was fine. Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't
No,
seen it
fine,
yet.
fine, sorry.
It's
So I'll
yeah,
I'll have to take the average of the two and watch it anyway.
Yeah, it's really good, and like, it's fantastic, and it's funny, and it's heartwarming, and it tackles global themes, and the soundtrack is great, the cinematography is fantastic, the cast is committed as hell, and it was just a 2-hour roller coaster of awesomeness, and I can't speak highly enough of that film. And then I also wanted to shout out something that I watched overnight. It's only just dropped on Disney Plus here in Australia, or on Hulu in the US. Don't know where it is around the rest of the world. Probably Disney Plus for the majority. But I watched Prey. So that was the stealth Predator film announcement that we got, done by Dan Trachtenberg, who also did the stealth sequel to Cloverfield with 10 Cloverfield Lane. This movie is so fucking good.
Awesome. Finally, a decent Predator movie.
Yeah, like it's been like we talked about the treatment of Alien or Aliens, and Predator is in a similar well, where you get good occasionally, then you get a whole lot of crap. And Prey is certainly in the good camp, and we're seeing a lot of the reviews. We're seeing 8s and 9s out of 10s across most of the outlets. I think Metacritic have got it at around 80 or so as well, and it's justified. Like, it is a great story. It is great acting. Like, Amber Midthunder, who plays the lead in this, is fantastic on screen and is just fully committed to the role. The way they introduce the Predator, and it's just gone back to its roots as far as the original Predator from the 80s, where it's survival of the fittest, and seeing these two very distinctive cultures as far as an alien hunting race coming to this proving ground to, I guess, show that it is up to standard as far as the Yautja alien race itself, and then seeing Amber Midthunder's character pushing against those sort of social norms, where most obviously females in the Native American culture, they're just out to cook and clean and gather, where she wants to be a hunter and she wants to stand with the boys and show that she's got the mettle to be in that same sort of breathing area. And it's really, really good. It's gory, it's gorgeous. It's all shot on location in Canada, so there's no real reliance on green screens for fake backdrops. The locations are stunning. The Predator looks great. There's a couple of little CGI moments where I'm like, oh, you could have chucked a little bit more money at it there, but overall, awesome. 90 minutes, and it just does not stop. Like, it's just cracker of a runtime. You get a great story, complete story with beginning, middle, and end, some cool combat, some cool death scenes, and hopefully this is a sign of a bit of a redirect on Predator and we get some more good stuff like this, because it was great, and I'm going to watch it again because Jono's coming over today. He actually asked me yesterday we should watch it together. I said yes, but I also didn't say that I wasn't going to wait till him to get here. So I watched it yesterday, and I'm watching it again now. But it's so good.
90 minutes, that's good.
Got to act surprised.
In the current age of bloat when it comes to movies, sometimes it's nice and refreshing when they keep it to a an action movie to that hour and a half, 2 hour mark. So
Tell me, yeah.
Yeah, so Miss Hart, I think you're going to be happy with this. Like you said, you're watching this tomorrow, doing Pray and Pizza?
Pray and Pizza.
Yeah, it is so good. And I hope after you finish and we have a chat about it, you feel it's good too, because it is really, really fun to watch. And comparing it to The Predator, the Shane Black film from a few years ago, this is like night and day.
God, that was a nightmare.
Yeah, it was rough.
So bad. The original Predator, it's one of the best action bloody thriller movies of all time.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear that Prey is actually decent. So,
yeah, there's a few nods and a couple of homages to the original, not in a forced, like, shoehorned way where it's like, ugh, you're doing that for the sake of it.
Easter egg.
Yeah, but it's really, really well done. And yeah, Amber Midthunder as the lead is fantastic. You can't keep your eyes off her and how committed she is, and she shows strength and weakness sort of effortlessly in this movie, and it's really cool to watch, and I'm actually very excited to watch it again today. So this is my bullet train, Miss Hart. You said you wanted to go watch it again. Prey is my bullet train today. So
yeah, Top Gun Maverick's
Sweet.
mine. Definitely want to see it again.
All right, so let's shift gears, and we'll talk about the best announcement that we've had of 2022. And Miss Hart, I might throw it straight over to you because I guess we've rudely been talking about this right now anyway.
Oh, it's fair enough. My best announcement was that we got a Predator movie, and so far it sounds like it's amazing. So yay! Thank God.
Yeah, it's really good, and I even like that they've gone away. Like it's not Predator : Prey or something. They've called it Prey. They've taken the big bad name out of it and that brand recognition, but it's really, really good. Something else that I think is really, really good. I'll quickly scattershot my announcement thoughts here. Marvel Phase 5 and 6, I know we're getting a little bit of Marvel fatigue, and at the moment they've confirmed 15 pieces of content so far over the next couple of years. So that is a lot of Marvel coming our way via the small and the big screen. But I'm excited to see what they do with this multiverse arc that they're working on here. And, they're starting to set the scene and weave things in with Doctor Strange and Thor Love and Thunder and whatnot. But I'm excited to see what they do, because we're getting a lot of characters that are, I guess, less tentpole-esque. We're moving away from the Iron Mans and the Captain Americas to a degree on Captain America, and sort of highlighting and focusing on lesser known mainstream superheroes, which I'm excited for. Something else that intrigues me, but I also don't know how long it's going to be until we see something. But we got the announcement, obviously, the Xbox and Bethesda showcase this year. Hideo Kojima is officially doing something with Xbox. So he's obviously been had his wagon hitched to Sony for decades, and finally seeing him diversify, you could say. I don't know how much money Phil Spencer and co said to Hideo to get him to jump across. It would be a hefty sum, but I'm very interested to see what happens there. And also something that's only dropped in the last 48 hours, Beyond Good and Evil 2 is not dead. It was, and probably still is, in development hell, but they've just hired Sarah Arellano as the new lead writer for that. So there is some life for Beyond Good and Evil 2, potentially, maybe. I don't know.
They've just hired a lead writer.
Yeah, as in they had one before. I assume they had one before and they moved on, or
yeah, and even the game director kit pulled out a couple of years ago as well. So typical Ubisoft fashion, internal turmoil and things like that. But we'll see. But the biggest thing there is I'm very interested to see what Hideo is actually cooking there with Phil and Team Green there, when we see that game potentially get released in 2020, 28?
Sorry to interrupt. The Sony fans weren't happy with that announcement, though, were they? There was a bit of, quite a bit of furor around him going to Xbox for just one thing he keeps stating. So,
Yeah, it's just one thing, but no.
What about you, James? What's been your favourite announcement or announcements of 2022 so far?
Yeah, so I guess I'm cheating a little bit. My favourite one, we know it was announced, years ago, and we knew it was coming, which is Forza Motorsport. But there wasn't any gameplay or anything about it until a couple of months ago. And then finally we got some concrete gameplay and how it's going to play on the Xbox Series X and obviously the PC. And look, I've been a Forza fan, obviously, from the get-go, from the original Forza Motorsport on the Xbox, original Xbox. So I was pretty excited to see this finally see the light of day, and we have a 2023 early-ish release date, I hope. But
it looks so pretty. And what's your thoughts where they've said that this is going to be like a games of service type of offering? So this is going to be Forza Motorsport, and it's going to be added to for potentially the next decade. They're not going to have, Forza Motorsport 2 and 3 and numbered base releases. They're just going to be adding new content to this over the coming years as a live game. I think it's a smart play.
Yeah, I think it's a smart play. It's in line with the times, really. To provide another example of that currently working is the Crew 2. So the Crew 2's been out for 4 years now, and they're up to season 11, and they keep adding new stuff and they keep tweaking. I will be frank in saying that the Crew 2 at launch, though good, could have been a lot better. I felt that the microtransactions got in the way a bit and were ludicrously priced. That is less of a problem now because they've got a lot more content, and they've provided more options for you to be able to grind, I guess, and get those things without necessarily spending real money. So I'm cautiously optimistic that the games as a service thing will be okay for Forza Motorsport. You could tell that people were starting to get, even myself, starting to get Forza Motorsport fatigue by the time 7 came out, which is 4 or 5 years ago now. So I think it's a smart move, and they've gone that way with Horizon. Though I will say, I just don't think Horizon is holding up as well as I would have liked. Yeah.
You're not a fan of Hot Wheels?
I like Hot Wheels. So the latest, obviously, DLC that's just come out, I do need to play it more. It's on the list. Let's just put it that way. VR sort of, I guess, taken up more of my time lately. Mm-hmm. But I just find the weekly season stuff where you can't actually ever really get the cars except on Auction House after that season is finished. I find that a little bit annoying, actually, because I'm a bit of a collector. So one of the things I always liked about the Forza games was the fact you could collect cars and race different production cars as well as racing cars. Production cars, I love production cars, right? So, I can't afford them in real life. So why not, do it in the virtual world? So anytime there's a game that has a lot of production cars, I'm like, yep, I'm there.
No doubt. And you also mentioned Aliens Dark Descent as an announcement you're excited about. I was a little scared when you mentioned this one because I'm reserving too much judgment until I get to play this, but
I'm a huge fan of that universe, and I think they were smart in going down the road that they're possibly looking at here, which is an isometric sort of
squad-based
squad-based shooter. Yep, exactly. And at least it's not like another crack at a first-person game. The Fireteam Elite, which is the last Aliens game that came out a couple of years ago, I actually played that quite a bit and finished all the main content there. And look, it wasn't too bad. It was better than I expected. It's actually on Game Pass now too. So if you haven't checked it out,
I stupidly bought the collector's edition of Aliens Fireteam Elite, and I played a good chunk of it. But yeah, now it's on Game Pass, and they keep supporting that game. They're bringing out new content and new little expansions all the time, which is good to see. But it just sucks seeing an IP you love so much get released as like a AA. It feels like
I agree. It is definitely a AA game. I bought it as well, but not the collector's edition. I bought just the standard edition at launch, and I don't regret that. I think it's good that we're still seeing these games from that universe. So I'm cautiously optimistic because I believe that Aliens Dark Descent was definitely announced this year, and I'm sort of keen for other things, I guess, as well that were probably announced a bit earlier.
Do you see yourself getting keen and playing Aliens Dark Descent, Miss Hart, or because I think when we unpacked the trailer, we were both sort of
we were a bit hard
sitting on the fence. But
Yeah.
are you going to dive in, or are you going to maybe think of jumping into Aliens Fireteam Elite on Game Pass?
No, like we kind of said, like, well, unfortunately, like when I saw the trailer for Dark Descent, I also wasn't sold on it, unfortunately. I don't know. Like it's been pretty difficult with the Alien games, and obviously I'm too chicken to play Isolation, so yeah, I just don't see them being my day ones, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's tough. Like, it's that whole once bitten, twice shy, isn't it? And we're getting bitten a lot of times with releases on these franchises, but we'll see. Maybe Dark Descent can surprise us when it makes its way to console and PC in the coming year or years. So yeah, let's shift into, I guess, the asterisks on this, as far as we're going to call this game of the year so far. I'll jump in first because then we've got a bit of universal discussion as far as where the other people on this podcast are currently sitting. So I would throw my hat into the Horizon Forbidden West Wing. Homerism, maybe, I don't know. Blatant love and obsession for post-apocalyptic and dinosaur fusion into games, definitely. But I love this game. I loved getting more of Aloy's story. Graphically, it's one of the best looking console games I've ever seen in my entire life. The narrative and the world building that they've expanded on from Zero Dawn is really great. Soundtrack's good. The voice acting, Ashley Birch as Aloy is phenomenal. I'm excited for where they've sort of set the story to go for the inevitable third game in the series, and the combat's tight. The mechanical dinosaurs are phenomenal. They're varied in aesthetic and how you attack them and how they come at you, and it's just a stunning, fun, brilliant game, and it has got so much polish. And I spent so many hours in the photo mode for the first time in my entire life. Like, I reckon I've put probably 10 hours into photo mode into this game, as well as mainlining the main game and focusing on those quests as well. And it's just great, and testament to Guerrilla and to Sony for just showing so much love and care to that franchise. But my honorable mention goes to a game that you both listed as your game of the year so far, and we're talking about From Software's Elden Ring. So who wants to start this discussion off? Miss Hart, maybe you start it off because you're new to this genre as far as enjoying it, at least.
And that's why I'm listing it. I've actually put a question mark at the end of it because this is one of those things where it's like, first of all, it's a game style that I would have never played. I would have never approached this kind of thing because I hate repetition, says the Destiny fan. And I hate like just instant deathing. I hate it when I don't feel like any kind of reward. But this game was able to captivate me. It was able to draw me in. It was able to expose me to this game style that I'm normally shy away from, and I was in awe of it. And even when I stopped playing, I still wanted to learn more about it. I kept watching videos, I kept reading lore, I kept on reading about different play styles and other things that people secretly found. So although I'm still kind of thinking that I might still have a game of the year later in the year, I can sit here and still appreciate and respect what Elden Ring has done for not only me but just the gaming industry altogether, and what they've put out there. And so yeah, that's why Elden Ring's kind of sitting up there for me.
I'm with you. This is a genre that is not usually very kind to me, and I'm not usually very kind to it as far as giving it my full time and effort, because they're very difficult and punishing for me, and they stress me out, and then they make me angry, and then I don't want to play because I can't win at it in this timing that I want to be feeling good and powerful. But Elden Ring didn't always feel that way to me. When I started to work out movement and sort of telegraphing enemy attacks coming at you and learning how to parry or to roll or when to engage, when to sort of peel back, it felt really good. I still have not finished the game, but I've made some good progress in it, and I will go back one day. It's back on my list, but I've got other things that are occupying my time. But I know, James, you've played quite a bit of not only this game, but you're a Souls fan in general and love what From Software do. But what is it that makes Elden Ring Game of the Year for you?
Yeah, so just to be clear, I think I've finished Elden Ring twice, and on the third playthrough.
Jesus, settle down.
Yeah, the developers will love me because I've bought it on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC.
Yeah.
So that's, I'm sort of one of those gamers that will support a developer if something just knocks it out of the park. And obviously, another example of that would be Skyrim. I've bought that multiple times over the years with the various remasters and whatnot.
Yep.
But Elden Ring brought some fresh air to the Souls type games in terms of it being open world. Like, it really was open world. If you were getting stuck on a boss, which obviously does happen quite a bit, you could just go in a different direction and explore and sort of slowly level your way up, and then have a crack at taking on the boss or summoning some help to take on the boss. I think the lore that George R. Martin had a play in this and sort of wrote the lore, and I think it sort of shows it's quite well done. It's quite different from Dark Souls in terms of how it handles it. The graphics are great. Could have been optimized a little bit better perhaps for console, but it still does a pretty good job. I found the variety of the classes and all the things you could do with the different weapons and the different spells and whatnot just really engaging. Obviously enough for me to go back. Some of the boss fights, just like the Souls games, were pretty amazing. It's like the character model designs and it's just insane. So I think it's right up there. I think it's done so well because it is definitely more accessible than the original Souls games. Yeah. I've played all of them, Bloodborne, Dark Souls 1 to 3. So I know how hard Dark Souls is compared to this. Even going back to Dark Souls after I finished my first playthrough of Elden Ring, I'm going, wow, I've gotten used to Elden Ring too much, because I was just dying all the time. And I think because it's not linear, I think that's what made it so good. You weren't forced to go a particular way. You had many different ways to go. So.
Yeah, it's a game that encompasses, I think, the word epic better than most. Like the scale, not only the map, but the freedom that you mentioned there, James, and then just the sheer size of some of these enemies you face. Like, everything comes at you hard and fast in a big, big way. And yeah, you can feel powerless 1 second, then just move to another area of the map and level up and hone your skills a bit, and then come back and feel a little less powerless. And it's a really good game. I really enjoy it. Like, it's not a game type that Ali and myself are aficionados at, like yourself, James. Yep. 3 times running through now, you're a madman. But like,
third time's in VR actually.
Oh my God!
There's a VR mod by Luke Ross.
Oh my God!
And you can switch between like the standard third-person type camera or a modified third-person or a first-person camera. And the first-person camera is pretty nuts with the combat, I have to say. So you're better off probably playing in third-person, but you can switch on the fly. So it's very easy to sort of, if you just want to explore, you can go first-person, and it's pretty cool.
I was going to say, like, doing, like, first person and then being in some of those environments. Like, yeah, there's the gritty, nasty stuff, but there are some beautiful locations that they have. And I could only imagine how amazing it must be to be immersed in there in first person VR.
Yeah,
stunning.
It's really, really good. I won't lie, though, you do need a reasonable PC. Like, my PC keeps up, but it could be better, and I'm running a 3070. So obviously, when you're having to do VR and do two sets of the same image to do the stereoscopic, it's going to hit your PC pretty hard. So.
Yeah, my God. It would be a treat to view through VR, but just those deaths would feel even more painful, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Can you imagine, like, the little hand coming at you?
Oh, the hand spiders.
They're the worst. Even my wife laughs at me every time I come across those because I'm just, They're
horrible, but like...
I'm out.
The nightmare fuel that exists in that game, and it's just such a stark contrast, like what Ali said there, as far as you're standing on some cliff sides and just in complete awe of the vista in front of you and how beautiful it is, and then you get a friggin' hand spider that kills you, or some other demon beast that looks like.
And they're so damn quick, those hand spiders.
Oh, but I can't
And they
believe
drop from the things.
Yeah. Or the
But it's great, and yeah, FromSoft, they deserve all the praise they're getting. Like, I was looking earlier on Metacritic as far as the highest rated video games of 2022 by score so far, and the 3 different releases, obviously PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, they have like 3 of the 4 highest rated scores on Metacritic so far. So they've got 75% of the top scores on Metacritic at time of recording. And yeah, well deserved. Like, it's awesome. It's great. It's punishing. And it's for more casual fans like us for this genre.
Yeah.
It's accessible in a way.
Kind of.
Yeah, the multiplayer community with the randoms and whatnot, they've always been pretty good, actually. Even in Dark Souls and Bloodborne, you've always had pretty good experiences. You know, it's not very toxic at all. People are quite happy to help you out generally. And sometimes I notice with Elden Ring, though, sometimes if you invite too many people, it buffs up the enemy, and it becomes harder in some ways. So,
Okay.
yeah, so Radahn, which is one of the bosses, is a good example of that. I tried to invite a few people in and just got my ass kicked because they don't allow you to use your horse, your spirit, your steed, when you've invited people in. So you're on foot and trying to avoid these lightning fast arrows that are coming at you. And in the end, I managed to, I did defeat him once with one person and once on my own. And I sort of found it easier on my own because I could just stay on horseback and keep circling and wearing him down that way.
Yeah, I'm certainly going to, when I eventually do return to this world again, I will be calling on your services to carry me. You can be the Australian version of Let Me Solo Her, and you can carry me to success, and I will gladly just hide in the corner and watch you go to town.
No, I think the more likely scenario is I'll die first, and you'll be standing there holding your sword and going, "What the heck am I going to do now? Help!"
But as far as some other love from the nation, like Limo and Jono also both had Horizon Forbidden West as their current game of the years. Tilby gave a bit of love to Gran Turismo 7. You know, I'm not a big GT fan. I admire and respect the work that franchise has put in over the years, and it is still one of the best sims in the world, but I have certainly gravitated more towards Forza the last several years. And then Nobu gave some love to Vampire Rising. Obviously, the surprise little PC hit that everyone can't talk enough about all over the internet. I still haven't played a minute of it, but I've watched a few guys streaming. Yeah. All right, so let's turn our lens and look outwards here, James and Ali, and we'll talk about what we're looking forward to that's still to come in 2022. Obviously, that's with an asterisk. There could be delays. There could be slippages on dates, and these could fall into 2023 and beyond. But Miss Hart, do you want to let us know what you're looking forward to watching that's still to come in 2023, or maybe some things that you're just looking forward to watching that you haven't checked out yet?
Well, everyone knows there's a list of things that I still need to watch. So I'm looking forward to Clerks 3. I'm a big Clerks fan. I'm a person who likes Clerks 2.
I like Clerks 2 as well.
We're far and few between. Everyone seems to poo-poo on that one. I enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to Clerks 3 and seeing a lot of the characters from Clerks 2 come back, and just a lot of references also from Clerks 1. And just seeing the real world struggles that they're trying to throw in there, and kind of hitting back on Clerks 1 and doing homage to realizing your dreams and being a small, movie creator and stuff like that. So I look forward to it. I hope it turns out well. And I'm assuming it's probably going to be the cap to the Clerks, trilogy. So I'm looking forward to that. And then Andor got announced for the Star Wars series kind of stuff. I hope it's good. Unfortunately, Kenobi didn't keep me. And Book of Boba Fett was kind of rough.
The trailer that they dropped this past week for Andor, though, looks phenomenal. And Rogue One's one of the best pieces of Star Wars.
Yes.
It is.
that they've made.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Post original trilogy, Rogue One is it in my
Yeah.
books.
Yeah, no, 100%. The only Star Wars movie that made me cry. And yeah, I've got to catch up on all the other stuff. So I still got to watch Umbrella Academy, obviously Stranger Things. I started watching The Boys, so then I have to catch up on the current season of The Boys. And my little personal, and Barry, still haven't watched the recent season of Barry. And for my own personal thing is a show called Bosch that no one really knows about, but that one's for me.
I've seen Bosch. Yeah.
Oh my God! I have someone to talk about Bosch with. My God!
I haven't watched all of Bosch Legacy yet, which is.
Oh no! I don't even know about that. No.
Okay.
Okay, so I haven't watched the most recent season of Bosch. So if Bosch Legacy is a spin-off of that, I don't know about it yet.
It's a sort of a sequel to season 7, I think. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all
and
right, cool.
It's still got Bosch in it, thankfully.
Thank gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a great character.
Yeah.
I love it. It's like this one series that I absolutely love, and I've got no one to talk about.
It's so underrated. No one ever talks about it.
It's
like one of the best shows on Amazon Prime, and no one. And you'd like it, Brendan. It's got Lance Reddick in it. So.
Okay.
Yeah. It was quite interesting with my Destiny connections and like having Savala and then hearing him talking about hard drugs and all that sort of stuff in this show. And I'm like, it's this is really weird.
He's been around and been in those sort of cop shows before, hasn't he? The Wire, I think it was.
I still can't disconnect him from Fringe. That's what I always think of Lance Reddick from.
Yeah.
Never watched The Fringe. Well, yeah, sweet.
Great science fiction.
There you go, listeners. You got 2 endorsements for Bosch. Watch it.
Well, and I think you look at it, these streamers would not keep making new seasons if it wasn't getting views and rated well. Like you said, there's 7 seasons so far plus this spin-off. So that's, there's a lot of loyal Bosch fans out there.
We're out there.
There's
dozens of us. Dozens.
I've only read a couple of the books, actually. Michael Connolly wrote. So the series keeps pretty closely from what I've read to the books. So that's why it's so good.
I'm wondering if I should read the books.
Yeah, I think you should. They're worth reading, definitely.
Okay. I'll have to look into them.
James, what about you? What are you looking forward to watching for the remainder of 2022 that's yet to come, or maybe some things from this year that you haven't been able to catch up on yet with?
Yeah, so I haven't caught up on, like Ali, like The Boys season 3. I've got to still watch. I've heard it's pretty entertaining and pretty over the top. The Terminal List, which came out recently with Chris Pratt, apparently it's an excellent sort of action thriller TV show. So got to give that a bit of a crack. I started to segue into this earlier, but Reacher season 2, I can't wait for that to come. Movies I'm really keen to see. Beast, which is like a monster movie about an aggressive lion. Kind of think of Jaws in Africa, and you probably got sort of some sense of what it's about.
Have either of you watched The Ghost in the Darkness?
Yes.
Did you ever watch that lion film, which is based off a true story about two male lions that were killing a lot of people as they were trying to build a railroad through Africa? It is so good.
It is. It holds up well too.
Val Kilmer too, by the way.
And Michael Douglas. Yeah. So 2 really good actors, and I agree. It's another one of those underrated monster movies. Rogue, the Australian movie Rogue about
the crocodile.
Yeah, that's another one that's really up there if you haven't checked it out. Avatar: The Way of Water. I'm curiously optimistic. Being Mr. Optimism here. I want to see what they do with the 3D tech here. I guess that's more my draw, because from what I've read, James Cameron's trying to introduce some sort of new 3D tech into the cinemas where you don't need 3D glasses. So you'll just be watching it and it'll be in 3D. And it's not the pop-out 3D of the old days. It's more like giving you depth. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think I don't know if that's going to come to Australia, but Ali, you might be able to see it in the US, because he's trying very hard to get some of these not projectors, they're like digital projectors now, I suppose, to be able to do that. But I'm concerned about the story a little bit based on what we've seen so far.
Yeah.
I did like the original though. I'm not saying it was like up there with Aliens or the original Terminator, but it was a good movie and a good use of 3D. And finally, I think it's out now or
Just dropped yesterday.
yeah, The Sandman. Now I haven't read the graphic novels, but we do have them here because my wife loves graphic novels and my wife loves The Sandman. So I guess if it ends up being good, and Neil Gaiman's had a lot to do with this series, so fingers crossed. I'm hoping it'll be really entertaining and quite good.
I'm excited. Like I've got the graphic novels. I love them. I adore them. It's some of Neil Gaiman's best work, in my opinion. And from what I've seen from the reviews, I haven't watched a minute of it outside of the trailers. They're saying this is one of the most faithful, like page to screen adaptations that exists in
awesome.
anything. They're saying that they've pretty much just taken panels from the graphic novels and just converted it to screen, and they said it's brilliant. Like there's 9s, 10s out of 10s I'm seeing around the place. Like everyone is very, very excited for it, and that's going to be my Sunday. I'm going to start digging into The Sandman on Netflix on Sunday, and I cannot wait for it because the media hype seems to be very, very, very real and sounds very appropriate considering the review scores it's getting at the moment.
Yeah, and Neil Gaiman, I think, has also been pretty praising of it as well. So he's like, how some authors kind of don't say anything because they're being polite. Well, at least, you see on the socials Neil Gaiman saying, "Hey, this is pretty good, and I'm very, very happy with how it turned out," sort of thing. So
yeah, I still feel bad for him with how mucked up American Gods got, like with the constant churn, like when Brian Fuller left and some of the cast left, and then writers are in and out, and
yeah,
we managed to get 3 seasons, and it ended on the main story is still not finished on the show, but it's since been cancelled. No. So it ends on a big cliffhanger, and I've read the book and it's great.
Yeah,
and
me too.
I want more of it because that fever dream God old and new battle for the ages, it's just brilliant on screen. Like the first season is some of the prettiest television I've ever seen. Like Brian Fuller just makes visually pleasing scenes, and he nailed it with American Gods, and then it just got chucked in the scrap heap.
Yeah, to be honest, I've only seen most of season 1. I haven't even finished season 1 because I got so despondent when they weren't releasing more. And so it's sort of like if they're not going to finish it properly, is there any real point to watching season 2 and 3? You know what I mean? So
I'm a sucker for punishment. Once I'm in and I can't, knowing that I'm going to get hurt, that it's been canned, I'll still watch it all because I just need it all in my veins. So
that's good. You can let me know how bad or good it is then.
Season 2 is not very good. Season 3 is better, but season 1 is the best of it all.
All right.
Yeah. Because they recast so many characters, which makes me sad. Like Gillian Anderson leaves after season 1, and she's one of the best parts of that show. Yeah. So that's always sad. Yeah. Things I'm looking forward to watching. Nope. Obviously, it's out in the States. It's not out here for another week or so, which is the new Jordan Peele horror film. It looks fantastic. It's getting reviewed really, really well. I'm excited for some of that. Another one that's hasn't got a lot of media hype at the moment, but I think it will come closer to release is the new film by George Miller. Obviously, most known for Mad Max, you'd say. And 3,000 Years of Longing is the film that's coming out. And that's got Idris Elba and Tilda Swanson in it, where Idris Elba plays a djinn, or a genie, if you want to compare it to that. And it's sort of, so Tilda opens up the gin bottle, and obviously you get wishes from the gin, but typically the main difference between a gin and a genie is the gin sort of plays with the wordplay of what the wishes you command. You constantly get screwed by the gin, and so he's not only going back through the thousands of years of his life and sharing stories and things like that, but then also looking forward and working with Tilda. And the trailer looks great. It is a trip of a trailer. And then the last one is Black Panther Wakanda Forever. We got the trailer for Ryan Coogler's follow-up to the first Black Panther film. I'm very curious to see what they do there. Obviously, Chadwick, the unfortunate passing of him, has sort of changed and had to redirect what they're doing with this franchise, but the trailer looks stunning, and there's a lot of care and love in this franchise, and I'm excited to see what they do with that, because this is going to be another step forward for this, phase 4, 5, and 6 with Marvel, and it just looks the goods, and we get that in 2022. So plenty of things to watch there, to look forward to, I think, on our list there, wouldn't you say?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, very much so. I did see the trailer without 3,000 Years of Longing, and I must admit it slipped my mind. But now that you've brought it up again, I'm like, yeah, I am looking forward to that. I haven't seen many of Jordan Peele's films. I haven't seen like Get Out yet, which apparently is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what was the other one?
Us was the other one.
Yep.
I like
So
Us.
I'll have to catch up on those, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he the way he shoots and the storytelling he does, it's done through a very different and unique lens, and he's very talented. I didn't think his sequel, loose adaptation of the Candyman was as good as people hyped it up to be. But he does some good things, Mr. Peele. So I'm excited for Note, because it sounds like it's just about the best thing he's done so far. So we'll see. Wanted to know as well, what would be your dream headline or announcement for 2022? So in the next 4 months, what would be the headline that would make you fist bump like there's no tomorrow? Miss Hart, I'm going to throw it to you first. What would be the dream announcement to get you grooving?
Mine is just due to PlayStation kind of throwing a lot of their old titles back into the universe. So I kind of just hope that they are going to do a remake of Buster Groove. Completely irrelevant. No one else probably knows it's a dance game from like early PlayStation era. I loved it. It was all my life. I recited every song. I had a CD that I burnt that had all the songs on it. So I'm just kind of hoping that maybe it will come back and I will be able to play it again because I loved it. And then I kind of just also threw in like a Silent Hill announcement, maybe. So that would be mine.
Did you play the original Silent Hill?
The original Silent Hill, yes, yeah. But only partially. I don't think I ever finished it because I think it was like someone else's.
I'm trying to remember it, but I definitely played it. I don't know if I ever finished it.
I'm also a fan of the movie. So.
Oh yeah, Rada Mitchell, wasn't it?
Yeah. Rada Mitchell, Sean Bean.
Oh yeah. It's been a while.
It's a great movie. Well, it's good for what it is. Yeah,
one of the better game adaptations to screen, that's for sure.
I think they did a better job with Silent Hill, like making a genuinely scary movie based on a scary game, and making it very violent and everything like that, as opposed to like kind of what happened with like Resident Evil. So
yeah, that skin scene outside of the church, that's still one of the best kill scenes on screen that I've seen in I don't know how long. It's phenomenal. And yeah, it was Buster Groove. Was some of the characters like they mix like human characters, then like almost like were they humans dressed in crazy like alien suits that you could pick to have as your avatar in that game as well?
No, like everyone was kind of larger than life and had their own like kind of character and style and everything like that. There was an alien character that you kind of had to go against at the end. There was also the two aliens called Capoeira, and their dance move was Capoeira, and you would dance like a battle them on there. As I'm saying this, I'm like, what an idiot. You battle them, but everyone else had their kind of larger than life aesthetic, and it was just lots of fun for a rhythm game.
Yeah, it was a cracker. I know it sort of was in and around the same time as like Parappa the Rapper as the main rhythm game from the early Sony days that I still remember and appreciate. But I remember playing a couple of rounds of Buster Groove back in the day. Was I very good? No, because I don't have any rhythm, but it was fun. I enjoyed my time. My quick headline that would make me very excited to round out the year is finally getting that Dino Crisis remake that I harp on about seasonally on this damn podcast. Like Capcom are churning through Resident Evil remakes and remasters like there's no tomorrow. Please bring Regina and her team back to the screen in 4K with a reimagined story and new mechanics. Please, please, please. That would be my headline. That's all I want as far as a headline to make 2022 even better. Very good.
Yeah, I assume that's why you like Horizon Zero Dawn and the sequel so much.
Yep. Yeah. And anything to do with dinosaurs, I'm usually like giving it a good amount of attention, regardless if it's going to be good or bad. But when it's good, it becomes great for me because horror and video games and dinosaurs in that Brendan melting pot is just tick, tick, tick for me.
So you like Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, I take it as well?
Yeah, Jurassic Park's my favourite movie of all time.
Oh, there you go.
I am not ashamed to say that. It's the best, and it holds up to this day. You know, it's a 20-year-old movie, and it's still brilliant. So yeah. James, what about you? What's your dream headline or announcement that would be the cherry on top of your 2022?
Yeah, look, I'm going to go out on a limb here in terms of tech, and put a wish out there to the universe that they bring back consumer 3D for TVs, because I'm a 3D nut. I had a 3D TV for years and years and years, but then obviously it phased out in favour of 4K and HDR and Dolby Vision, which is great, by the way, for gaming. Don't get me wrong, but when it comes to watching movies in 3D, it's so good on a 3D TV or 3D screen. So I would love. I guess that's part of the reason why I'm trying to be cautiously optimistic about Avatar: Way of Water. Is I'm hoping James Cameron actually starts the trend again, since he did that pretty much back in 2019 with Avatar, and 3D becomes popular again. What surprised me the other day was that 3D movies they still come out. Like Love and Thunder apparently came out in 3D in some cinemas over in the States, apparently. I'm not in the States. Ali, have you ever seen
any advertisements for it in 3D?
Interesting.
So it might have been really select theaters.
It might have been really select, yeah. So it's interesting that they still release the odd movie in 3D in the cinema, but they don't then convert it to a 3D Blu-ray. So that's obviously where a lot of my love has come from, the 3D Blu-rays in the day. And VR, by the way, is another good way to watch that. So even the reason I still watch 3D now is because I basically can watch it via my VR headset, via a virtual cinema. So even if I don't have effectively, the 3D TV anymore, I can still watch my 3D movies. So
how do you go with that, James? Like, do you start to get a little bit of nausea watching? Like, have you got sort of a threshold as far as you can comfortably sit and play or watch for 2 hours and you need to take a break, or are you just that attuned now to that extra immersion that you're immune?
I've always been pretty good with VR, actually. I think there's only been one game where I've had a slight bit of vertigo, maybe, and then apart from that, I'm great. See, VR. The best experiences in VR are things like where you're sitting down and you're actually not artificially moving. So if you're sitting in a virtual cinema and you're looking around and you see other people in, other people's avatars sitting there, if you're using an app like Big Screen TV, you won't get sick because you're kind of just sitting there and your body's moving with you, right?
Yeah, it's syncing that trickery to make you feel that you're there, as opposed to that disconnect into a fantasy universe.
Yeah, and racing games are similarly another good thing in VR, because you're sitting in a cockpit usually, you're not moving around, but yeah, I'm one of the lucky ones that doesn't get motion sickness when it comes to VR. So.
We're very jealous, Miss Hart. We are very jealous.
I get motion sickness playing just a normal game. I got motion sickness playing like some game the other day. I can't remember what it was. I just got motion sickness. I'm like, God, how old am I? So
yeah, no, I'm grateful in a way that, because growing up, gaming was a big thing for me. Obviously, whether it be role playing or computer gaming as it improved. I attempted sport several times, and let's just say I wasn't very good at it. And even now, when I play real golf from time to time, I'm still not very good at it, but at least I'm getting some exercise. So yeah, I've always enjoyed the 3D, so I'm grateful that I can watch it.
It's nice to see that the film and the gaming or the TV, just the creative industries have not abandoned that tech, and they're still pushing forward with 3D and VR, and we're starting to see those leaps and bounds and it becoming more commercialized, which, gives us hope that everyone's going to be experiencing VR in some regard in the future, and we're all going to be living our Ready Player One lives collectively in our pods in the coming years.
That's
I'd
right.
imagine.
And
Bring it
getting the
on.
artificial gravity sort of treadmills. Yeah.
God, that'd be something. As far as video games, we've only got 4 months left, give or take. I want to know what you guys are looking forward to playing that's still on track at time of recording for a 2022 release. I'll chuck it over to you, Miss Hart. We've got some bleed, I think, collectively between the three of us here, so we can sort of jump in and share some thoughts as to why on a few of those collective games. But Miss Hart, what's on your radar for between now and December 31?
Game I feel like I've been waiting for years. Years? Yeah, years. Is Scorn. The amazing body horror looking space exploration kind of first person action game that is due for, is it September or October? September?
October the 21st.
October. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope it's just grisly and sickening, and I really hope that it makes some people uncomfortable, because that's what appeals to me about this game. So I'm really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, James, you've got this on your list as well. Why are you looking forward to Scorn?
Well, probably similar reasons to Ali, but it also feels very H.R. Geiger like, and that's why I'm definitely keen for it, because obviously he did all the modeling for the original Alien. And it looks very, very creepy. It does look like it makes you, even watching the trailers makes you feel uncomfortable. So being able to play in that universe. I mean, I'm also secretly, I know they haven't announced anything like this, but if it's coming, it is coming to PC, I believe, isn't it? So
yep.
I'm hoping they release a VR mod for it.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, get in there.
Get in there.
The sound design, in the trailers as well, just all the sloshing and the gut noises
squelchies and stuff.
everything.
Yeah, with headphones on, it's going to be terrifying for sure. Pretty keen. Is it a AAA? It's more a AA, isn't it?
It's a AA, yeah. So
Yeah.
Ebb Software are the developer behind it. And they're not a big studio by any means, but they seem to have nailed this body horror, nightmare fuel-y, creepy, just uncomfortable vibe. I think you both mentioned that word. I think that's probably the best way to describe this game. It's going to be scary at times, but I think it's primarily just going to be just a gross, unsettling experience that's going to make you feel a little uncomfortable, or a lot uncomfortable, because we don't see a ton of combat in the trailers. They haven't given us a ton of variety in the slice. They've shown the universes and some of the crazy models and interacting with things to open up doors with it's just a whole trip. It's Geiger, it's Clive Barker, it's just real creepy heebie-jeebie stuff. And I think collectively we're all for it come 21st of October.
Yeah, it's also coming to Game Pass too.
Yeah, day one on Game Pass, which is awesome. Miss Hart, what else? We got another one here that we're shared between the three of us. It seems the three horror buffs here are looking forward to similar things.
Callisto Protocol. It looks gross. It looks scary. It's in space. It's awesome. That trailer that they released, was it E3 that we saw that really? We
saw the one
Games
with at Games Fest, and then saw a bit of a deeper dive at the Xbox Bethesda showcase as well.
Right. Yeah, and just getting to witness not only seeing the gameplay and the UI that they've kind of developed for the game, but just the gruesome nature of this game. It was fantastic. I loved everything that they kind of added within the the holographic projections of showing you kind of what happened in the past and everything as well. This one looks rough. It's got to be honest, it has to be a great one of the better games that have kind of come into my awareness, and then just gone from zero to, oh my God, this looks amazing, so quickly.
Yeah, it looks really good. It's coming out on the 2nd of December. Striking Distance Studios are behind this, and it's funny because this looks like the next evolution of Dead Space, thanks to Glenn Schofield, who was the creator of Dead Space back in the day.
Yeah.
But then obviously we've got the Dead Space remake coming out next year that no one seems to be caring too much about comparative to the Callisto Protocol, because this game is just space horror nightmare fuel dialed up to 11, and it looks gruesome and grisly and terrifying, and I can't wait to get killed by all kinds of horrible beasties in all kinds of horrible ways. And it's the perfect table setting before a nice family-based Christmas. Let's go. James, what's tickling your pickle regarding Callisto Protocol?
Well, similar to you, I really liked the original Dead Space. I thought the original Dead Space was just right up there in terms of storytelling and UI. The UI is very minimal. The health was on the backpack, all that sort of stuff. I felt they deviated, probably due to publisher demand or whatever. They started going into action territory with the sequels, so it became less about survival horror and more about a little bit more on the action side.
Mm-hmm.
And when I heard that, the co-creator was doing a proper Dead Space type game, I was like, ooh, this is interesting. And I agree. The remake, Dead Space remake, apparently is coming late January. So
yeah,
it's within a month of Callisto Protocol coming out. So it will be. I have a feeling, we don't know for sure, of course, but just my opinion. My gut's telling me that Callisto Protocol is probably going to be more like the original Dead Space than the remake.
I think you're right. I think that's the possibility of happening.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to look at these two games 3 months in and see, one, how they've been perceived in the market, two, how many units have been moved of both titles, and then three, which game has done Dead Space better, I guess, is in a roundabout kind of way. But I can't wait. And the fact that, we're getting it in December is fantastic. Miss Hart, you've got a couple more on this list that got your eyes on?
I'll just shoot through these ones. Splatoon 3 coming out. Been waiting for kind of a refresher for Splatoon. It does look like much of the same, but I'm looking forward to kind of being back in that universe and being amongst that hype again. Metal Hellsinger was the rhythm shoot 'em game in what looks to be hell, with an amazing array of metal bands and metal singers coming together for the soundtrack. So demo of that was amazing.
Did you see that with Gamescom next month, I think, or later this month? I don't know. I think it's later this month. I think the back end of August, they've actually got some of the musical talents from Metal Hellsinger coming to play a live show while showcasing the game. So they've got Matt Heafy and the female singer from Arch Enemy and a couple other bands all coming together to do a concert in parallel with Metal Hellsinger at Gamescom.
That's awesome. Yeah, this game was brilliant when I saw it, and I'm just like, oh, this is just me. It's rhythm, it's shooter, you're playing a hellish demon, and there's like metal bands in the background. This is brilliant. So definitely looking forward to that one. And just throwing in Overwatch 2. For the most part, I did say Overwatch 2 beta felt like Overwatch anyway, but like much with Splatoon, just to kind of get back in there and getting the community revived back up and having what made the original Overwatch experience fun and enjoyable with friends. So those are mine.
Yeah, I'm excited for Overwatch 2, and I'm excited that it's obviously shifted to a free-to-play model, so I'm curious to see how that's going to evolve over the coming months and years. But it was always fun to get in a little hero shooter together and roll around, so I'll dip a toe in that in between many of these other games that are dropping as well.
Else. Yeah.
So many. And it's good because, like, you think of the release landscape at the start of the year. It's pretty barren at the back end of the year, where we didn't have a ton of games confirmed for 2022, and now we've got a good assortment of big and small games to keep us occupied into next year. James, you got a couple other games on your list as well that you're keen to give a spin for later this year.
Yeah. So VR, obviously, once again, Red Matter 2, which is a first-person puzzle exploration type game set in a Cold War-ish type universe in space. it's sort of, I don't want to give it away because for those of you who haven't played Red Manor 1, probably best not to. But yeah, technically this looks really impressive. It's using a heavily modified version of the Unreal Engine. I'm not sure which version, but I suspect it's 4, not 5. It looks amazing, and even the standalone Quest 2 version looks graphically impressive. So it's out towards the end of this month, actually, so August 18th. So there's a PC VR and Quest 2 version coming. There's not a lot out about this one or announced about this one, but EA are swearing black and blue that it's coming out this year in December, a new Need for Speed game. So I'm not even cautiously optimistic about this one, but I do like what some of the Need for Speed games, particularly some of the classics ones, like they remastered Need for Speed Hot Pursuit from 2010-11, and that I still like that game. I still think it's a pretty good arcade Need for Speed game. Effectively, though, there's not even a title announcement yet, so I reckon it'll probably be shift to 2023. But anyway, if it comes out 2022, I might end up playing it, so that'll be good. And then Plague Tale Requiem, which is out November, I think. Sorry.
October the 18th for Requiem, so it's not far away at all, and obviously day one on Game Pass too. Yep, which is great. And I did finish, and I played and finished the first one. It is one of those unsettling type games again. In parts, there's actually very somber tone. Quite depressing at times, but it's a good story, good characters, interesting game mechanics, that's for sure. I did struggle in one game mechanic part at the end, which I won't go into, but managed to eventually get through it. So, yeah, looking forward to the sequel. It looks like they're going to enhance the game mechanics a bit more and provide us a deeper dive into the two main characters. So. Yeah, it looks like Amicia, she can move a lot more freely. Like, it was a little rigid and stiff at times, like almost like tanky and floaty when you're trying to navigate her in the first game, but it looks like she's a little bit more swift on the feet now, and which combat seems to be more fluid. Yeah, which I'm excited for, because the story that they're telling in the original and then with the sequel is fantastic, and it's very unique, and I like that it's only a 6-month follow-on from the original as far as the time jump with the game, and it just looks awesome, and I can't wait to play it. And Asobo Studio, who sort of head this one up, have done really well, and it's got me excited. Like another October release, so we've got that on the 18th, then Scorn on the 21st. So I've got to finish Plague Tale really, really quick before I can jump in and get really, really freaked out and grossed out in Scorn. So I'm gonna have a busy October. And then I can rest for a couple of weeks, because the other game I'm looking forward to is God of War Ragnarok, finally confirmed for a November 9th release. Yeah, Santa Monica Studios obviously are helming this bad boy, and I cannot wait to see what they're doing with the continuation of Kratos' story and just the foreshadowing tied to the term Ragnarok. Obviously, anyone that's familiar with Norse mythology knows just how heavy a toll that word or that what that is referencing. So I'm not going to go into any spoilers there, but it looks great. The combat looks like more of the same. The storytelling is fantastic, and it's just going to be gorgeous and brutal and heart-wrenching and emotional, and I cannot wait to play that on November the 9th. Sony exclusive. I think it'll probably drop on PC a little bit later again, but console only for now. But God of War Ragnarok is the other game I'm excited to play that is still on track for a 2022 release. Touching wood that nothing changes for the games we mentioned. But that brings us to the end of THG 294, our reflective and then, wishing well type of episode here, where we've looked back and we're looking forward and hoping for plenty more good things to come via way of gaming and the screen. James, mate, thank you so much for being a part of this bottle episode, you could say, of THG. It's been an absolute pleasure to get you on board here. How's it feel to now have your first podcast in the books? Are you going to think of maybe starting your own? You're gonna dabble more in this field, or are you going to be just the sort of the super sub that just gets called upon erratically here for guest slots here and there?
Yeah, look, I thank you for having me on the show. Long-term listener, so it's great to actually be part of it. I have been toying around with the idea of possibly starting something, but time and real life tend to get in the way. So I think I'm probably more happy to jump on and be guest stars where appropriate, and just keep obviously attacking the socials, so to speak, and doing a bit of writing here and there. But
that's it. So where can listeners find your content, find you on the socials? The floor is yours to plug as little or as much as you're comfortable with. Go for it.
Oh, well, thanks. So on the socials, I'm on Twitter at JT Culverhouse. That's CULVERHAUSE. A bit of a joke on that one, actually. I'm old enough that I know the Mickey Mouse theme song, and when I used to teach at TAFE, the only way I could get people to remember my surname was to actually sing CULVERHAUSE Culverhouse.
That's the best.
Love
it. I'm also on Facebook under that name as well, and jtculverhouse.com. You'll find me on not a very frequent written blog, I will be completely frank, but it's there.
It's there. It exists. You'll update that when you can, when you're not busy playing games in VR, writing books, and everything else that you got yourself well engrossed in.
Yeah.
You can obviously find myself at Brendan 8-Bit. You can find us all as a whole at We Are 8-Bit. Miss Ali Hart at Miss Ali Hart. Ali, you got anything else you want to shout out or mention before we look to close this episode down for another week?
No, I've got nothing. It was just great having you, and it's always nice, having to, have conversations on social and then actually getting to essentially meet people face to face. It's a bit harder for me now being in the States and not getting to go out as much to social events in Australia. But it's great having you, and thanks for joining us. Hopefully it was all that you imagined it to be.
And good to meet you virtually as well. Yeah.
And appreciate the levels of optimism you brought to the show. I'm usually, pretty positive for the most part, but I think you've outdone me and outshone me in the optimism and the positivity sort of vein here on the show. So appreciate you bringing that tone along today too.
Must be the positive Paragon Shepherd side overtaking the Joel side, I think.
That combined with 3 coffees to start the morning, I think certainly put the pep in that step.
That had something to do with it too.
All right, listeners, be sure to rate, review, subscribe our podcast, as well as all the other podcasts you listen to on the regular on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Those ratings and reviews help keep the emotional lights on in our hearts. But I think it's time for us to close this studio down. But 8-Bit Nation, much love.
You know how to say it, James.
Stay hungry.
You've been listening to The Hungry Gamers, one of many gaming and geek culture related podcasts from the 8-Bit Collective over on 8bit.net. Check out more episodes on your podcast service of choice. And while you're there, please be sure to rate and subscribe. Until next time, boys and girls, stay hungry.